Ontem à tarde a gente recebeu a visita mágica de um gênio. Ele se chama Ron Carter, é contrabaixista, compositor e professor e já tocou com quase todos os outros gênios do jazz, de Miles Davis a Thelonious Monk, passando por Tom Jobim. Mr. Carter está homenageando Miles, com quem ele formou um quinteto histórico nos anos 60. Para tanto, ele está tocando na íntegra, de hoje a domingo, aqui em São Paulo, o seu disco Dear Miles, de 2007. Você acompanha agora a nossa conversa nos estúdios do Metrópolis. Bom, eu tenho aqui do meu lado uma das figuras mais importantes do jazz mundial e posso dizer com toda segurança de todos os tempos, Mr. Ron Carter, que eu considero talvez o maior baixista de toda a história do jazz. Bom, Mr. Carter, thanks for coming.
Thank you for the invitation.
Let's talk about Miles Davis and you, okay?
Oh, okay.
How was to play with Miles Davis?
Every night was like being in a laboratory.
Oh, yeah?
And he was like the head chemist.
Yeah.
And his job was to lay out all these various chemicals for us. And our job was to make these mixtures up and see what we would come up with.
Yeah.
Sometimes they worked, and sometimes they didn't work. But it was fun at the same time.
Do you remember the first time that you met him? How was it?
It was at a concert in Rochester, New York, and somehow the transportation they had worked out to go from the concert hall to the train station was not available.
Yes.
And I was a student at school, and I had a car, so I drove Paul Chambers and Philly Joe Jones and Miles Davis to the train station.
Yeah.
It was great.
And how was Miles? He loves cars and beautiful suits, isn't it?
Well, he didn't mind riding in the 1950 Ford to get to the train station. But he loves cars. Great Ferraris, Maseratis. He was into all those kinds of speedmobiles, I used to call them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You've been in a Maserati with him, isn't it?
We drove from New York to Detroit for a week at Detroit when I first joined the band. Then we drove from Detroit to St. Louis, which was his hometown, East St. Louis. And, boy, it's a wonderful drive.
How many hours?
Well, we made it to Detroit, which is like probably 7 hours. I made it in 5. And from St. Louis, New York, from Detroit to St. Louis is probably 8, and we made it in about 6.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's
Fast, isn't it?
all the way like this.
How was him as a band leader?
Well, you know, I think none of us thought of him as a band leader. He was just like one of 5 people on the bandstand.
Yeah.
And I think because we didn't have that view of him, we didn't have that status of him, and thought that he was one of the guys, so to speak, that I think it was easier to play with him because we weren't concerned about the hierarchy of the band, relationships in the band.
You have done a lot of albums with him, with the quintet, isn't it? Do you have a favorite one?
Well, you know, I haven't listened to them all. I just haven't stopped to do that. And we made so many. Well, I was teaching school for 18 years before I retired 4 years ago, and now with my quartet, I'm on the road all the time, you know, and I now have 5 private-based students. I just don't have the time to just sit down and do nothing but hear that music. Yeah. One day I will. Okay.
Tell us about the other guys of the band. Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Tony Williams. You were very young that time, isn't it?
It felt like it. I mean, Tony was the youngest, and then came Herbie.
Yes.
And then came me, and then Wayne, and then Miles in the age category. But you know, I talk to Wayne and Herbie as often as I can. And unfortunately, Tony's passed away, but we've maintained a close contact. I think when you're in this laboratory all night, and you're taking the same kind of chances to mix and match chemicals, the risk involved, and the danger involved, and the successes involved, to make you become a very, very tight group of people. And I miss talking to them all the time. Actually, I call them every holiday. I call them every Christmas. Hello, Ron Carter. Happy holidays. Bye. That's enough for us.
Tell me something about this album, Dear Miles.
Okay, well, you know, I kind of I delayed making this kind of record because it seems that everyone was doing a tribute to Miles' kind of view, either a concert or a documentary or gig at a club. And I thought that there were so many coming out that I didn't want mine to get caught up in the usual Miles dedication kind of situation. So I waited till, one, the band had the library that I wanted to present with that kind of possibility, and that there was enough space between the last Miles dedication and my dedication to him that it would kind of get the kind of interest that it fortunately got.
You have played with a lot of geniuses, as you know, Eric Dolphy.
They're all my friends.
Yeah. Tell me about this.
Okay.
Eric Dolphy.
Well, you know, Eric practiced incessantly. He'd practice flute for a couple of hours. Then he would practice bass clarinet for a couple of hours. Then he'd practice alto for a couple of hours. Then he would start all over again. And he was just determined to find out not just how each instrument worked, but how you can make each one of them have his, Eric Dolphy's voice. It was amazing to see that.
Wes Montgomery.
Wes was a really shy person, you know, and he always wanted to talk about everybody else. He asked him, how about this guy, and how about that gig? We think about that, and I was trying to ask him how he did this, and he was not interested in telling me that, not because he didn't want to share. He just had interest that he thought I could help him get together, which was kind of strange for me because that's Wes Montgomery. I'm just a bass player in the band, you know. But we had a great time making some wonderful records, and I got a chance to play with him at the club in New York at a time called the Half Note when he had the Wynton Kelly Trio with Wynton Kelly and Paul Chambers and Jimmy Cobb. And one night, Paul got sick, and they called me to fill in for the night, and boy, it was like being in heaven, man. It was perfect for me. It's fabulous.
And what about Thelonious Monk?
Well, you know, despite, again, the rumors that people have views of what they've read about him or heard about him, he was really very shy. You know, I worked with him for a concert and a week at a club in Philadelphia, and he said maybe 10 words.
Wow.
And they were split up in 2 sections, good evening and good night. So like 12 words every night for 6 nights. You know, I was going to school, so he'd make sure I got back to New York in time for my 8 o'clock class. And he'd pick me up at 7 o'clock p.m. to get to the gig in Philadelphia. So it was really an honor to play with him. And again, he didn't talk a whole lot, and that was okay because I was trying to learn this library, and it was fine with me. I didn't know until his book came out last year that he wanted to hire me for his band, but he knew I was in school, so he never asked me to join his band.
And what about Antônio Carlos Jobim?
Well,
You
when
have played 5 albums with him, isn't it?
Yes. You know, when I met him through Creed Taylor, through A&M Records, you know, I spoke even less Portuguese than I do now. I know like 6 words. I knew maybe 3 then, you know. And he spoke a very good English, of course. And through my stumbling vocabulary, I asked him, well, what do you want me to do on this record? You know, I knew the music from Stan Getz's record and from Dizzy's record, but never played it. And I'm playing with this person who was the bossa nova, Mr. Bossa Nova, you know. So I said, well, I don't know, man. I mean, what can I do for this music? And he said, well, you're here because I like the way you play, and I trust that you will find the right rhythm, the right notes to make this music work. And I had a great time. I miss him dearly.
What do you know about Brazilian music?
Well, you know...
Do you like it?
Absolutely. And through playing with Airto and Flora and Melto and...
Elmir Deodato.
Yeah, and João Palma, the great drummer, and Edson Machado. And I've met and played with Milton Nascimento. I've come to learn that this music has its own special curves and own special hidden things in there, you know. And these people I've mentioned, they know these places. And my job is trying to get there when they get there. So for me, every time I play with Milton, it's like going to school. And I play with Flora and Airto, it's like a free class in Brazilian music, you know, and I just treasure those moments.
So you have a big band now, isn't it?
I had it for a recording date in 16. It was great. The difficult part is making 16 guys come with me. I'm doing like this. Come on, hey, come on this way.
16 guys.
16, yeah, yeah. The record is called Ron Carter's Great Big Band. And it's 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, 5 saxophones, and 4 rhythm players, Mulgrew Miller, Lewis Nash, Russell Malone, and myself. And boy, I had some great fun for the week. Fabulous sound of the band.
I've listened to you playing Johann Sebastian Bach in an album called Ron Carter Meets Bach. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
And I feel that there are no frontiers for you, for your music. Am I right?
You know, my kind of view is that I've been surprised that people who are not in the jazz community know that I exist. I mean, man, there's a lot of music, different kinds of music, you know. So when I get a call from a rap group, a tribe called Quest, to make a record with him, you know. Or when I get a call from Aretha Franklin personally to say, I'm doing this record down there, can you come and join us? I mean, that just kind of blows me out of the water. I think every sideman's focus is to make that person's music feel like he belongs there when he plays it. And that's what I've tried to do for these years.
Okay. And I have the last question. It's a dumb question, okay?
Okay.
What's jazz for you?
Ooh, that's a very difficult question. And I feel dumb not to have a real answer for you. But you know, my general answer for that question is that I will invite your listeners, your viewers of this show, to, I'm in town Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the museum for the Miles Davis exhibit. And my quartet of Peyton Crosby on drums, Rolando Morales Matos on percussion, and Irene Rossins on piano, and myself, we're playing this music from Dear Miles. And I hope that the people who come to this event will leave feeling that that's jazz.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Ron Carter.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.